Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. That would be Sandy Kreisberg, the founder of HBSGuru.com. And we have with us Josh, who graduated from Princeton, a philosophy major, no less, who scored a 750 on the GMAT on his first attempt, which is endlessly impressive to me as a poet. He works in biz dev for a small engineering consulting firm. Right out of school, he actually ran his own venture-backed fintech startup. And then he worked for like a 23andMe for dogs, for dog DNA, for another year before actually joining this engineering consulting firm. He's aiming high. His targets are Harvard, Stanford, MIT Sloan, Yale, Wharton, and yeah, I think that covers it, right? Yeah.
Good. Okay, Josh, good to meet you. You're an impressive guy. Ladies and gentlemen, what we got here is a 3.3, which is a boo-boo, although it's from Princeton. We'll explain that. We've got a great GMAT, 750, and we've got 3 jobs out of college. He's 26 years old. That's the perfect age. He's worked for 3 different companies for a year, and now his current job is a year and 8 months. So 3 jobs is usually the max that you present when applying, so you're okay there. You got a lot going for you. What you're going to have to do, since you don't have any well-known companies, on your resume, you're going to have to do a real good job of explaining your post-college work history. So let's see if you can do that. Let's say the first question at a real, like in an HBS interview, they would say, "Oh, well, I've read your resume, but we've got an observer here. So could you just walk the observer through the resume in 60 seconds, which is a lot of time."
Yeah, sure. So I'm Josh. I studied philosophy with minors in computer science and entrepreneurship at Princeton. After graduating, I was lucky enough to get connected with an angel investor who convinced me to pursue a startup idea that I had been working on full time. So I did that right out of school. Didn't end up being successful.
When you're presenting yourself, they want proper nouns. Okay, you don't have to name the angel investor, but you're good. And then what you need to say is, she helped me start a company called Slope.
Mm-hmm.
Which did what?
Yeah, so Slope was a financial technology company. It was you can call it the robo-advisor space, so similar to Wealthfront or Betterment, trying to increase access and education about different types of investing and trying to make it available to sophisticated retail investors.
What do you think of that, John?
Well, I actually think that he needs to say the angel investor is a well-known investor with connections to Andreessen Horowitz. In other words, as much as you can get some glitter sprinkled on these unknown companies.
I agree with that.
Important.
But what do you think of his explanation of Slope?
I think it's too convoluted.
Yeah, you got to be able to do that in a headline. You know, Slope was a fintech company that targeted sophisticated private investigators, and we gave them entry into this, and this space. So what's the answer?
Targeting sophisticated retail investors, giving them access and education about algorithmic trading, digital currency trading, and in the future, we were going to do real estate investing as well.
Yeah, algorithmic trading, basically. Good. And what happened?
So we built up what I thought was a pretty good platform, website and back-end trading infrastructure. And then I attempted to raise a seed round of funding. I pitched 40 or 50 VCs and got some partner meetings at some notable firms like RRE and some others, but didn't end up closing that round. So put the company on the shelf.
Looking back, what do you think you needed?
So I think in retrospect, I learned a lot.
10 years of age.
Yeah, that would be one of them. I think I was too young at the time. I didn't have enough experience or track record in the financial markets to convince people that I would be the one to create this platform. And I think I also could have used a better team, most notably a very technical co-founder would have helped a lot.
Good. Those are great answers. Okay, so then tell me about your next job at Embark Veterinary. What is that?
Embark is 23andMe for your dog.
23andMe for dogs.
Yep. So same idea. You swab your dog, send it in, and then you get all this information about their breed breakdown and potential health conditions that they might have related to their genetics. And so,
what were you doing there?
So I was doing marketing.
Marketing analyst.
Yeah. So I reported directly to the VP of marketing. So it was a very flat organization there.
Good.
And I got a lot of kind of exposure to all of the different types of marketing we were doing and a lot of influence over the types of spending we were doing.
Give me a typical day. Give me some examples. You're marketing a slightly unusual product, although 23andMe for dogs is a wonderful way. You know, that's a good first thing to say, but what did you say after that?
Yeah, so I was kind of in charge of, we were doing a lot of quantitative marketing. So spending in a lot of different channels, think Facebook ads, Google ads, direct mail to people, advertising in podcasts. We had probably 10 different channels like that we were playing in.
That's valuable experience. Okay.
Yeah, and so
we were marketing all over. We didn't know what the right channel was. So it was partially a matter of discovering marketing channels.
Exactly.
Quantifying the results of the ones we were using.
Yeah, correct. And we also sold on Amazon. So I got a good amount of experience dealing with that, selling on a third-party platform as well.
Great. Okay. Well, what was the corporate culture there? How big was it, and what was it like? Was it a startup culture or?
Yeah, definitely a startup culture. Definitely a startup culture. It was very flat. When I joined, I think it was maybe 20 people, and it grew as I was there.
Did the culture change?
The culture changed a lot once they raised the A round, I would say. So that happened kind of towards the end of my tenure there.
How do you tell me about that? How did that? That's very interesting. What changed? Let's see if you can explain what changed.
Yeah, so I would say before the A round, it very much felt like a true startup. Like everyone knew each other. Everybody was kind of very involved with different parts of the company, wearing lots of hats. After the A round, they brought in a lot of external, we'll call them adults, right? They brought in new managers that weren't familiar with a lot of the culture, and this caused many of the people there to either leave or be let go after that point.
You still haven't put your finger on how the culture changed. I would not say they brought in adults. That's it's inaccurate, and it makes it sound like you still resist normal business practices. You're applying a business school here. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say maybe the culture got less familial. These new people came in, and I felt that there
was more reporting, there was more accountability, there were more meetings, there was less debate about important things. It became more top down.
That's the one. The last thing you said. It became a lot more top down.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you want to say right off the bat.
Gotcha.
Yeah. For you folks out there, being able to explain the culture of where you work and how the culture of different jobs that you've had. That's a classic business school interview question, and particularly at HBS. Okay, so then you now join Leaf Labs. Could you explain to the folks out there what that is?
Yeah, so Leaf Labs is a small embedded engineering consulting firm. So that means software and hardware development on devices that are typically not computers. So any kind of small device, any sort of Internet of Things device, any sort of tool for academic labs, things like this.
Well, I think you should just say what it is: a sensor, a chip. It wouldn't have to. Yeah. So be specific, just simple.
Yeah. So we develop different sorts of sensors, chips, and small electronic devices for various clients, including FANG companies and MIT academic labs. things like this.
And here's where you need to say, Google and Facebook, because again, we're sprinkling a little gold dust on these firms that people have never heard of.
Is this correct? Do you make like bespoke chips or bespoke programs?
Yes.
You see that?
Bespoke chips or programming for chips?
Both. We actually recently did an internal spin of an ASIC, which is a kind of chip internally.
Okay, so then let's drop bespoke. We make custom chips for people who have very narrow applications. Is that accurate, or could you improve on that?
Yeah, we have made this one chip. I'd say we do devices more, and software and firmware for those devices.
Okay, we make like bespoke chips, software, firmware for people who are doing one-off devices. Let me give you an example. Let's hear the example. This is real important. You've got to be able to explain this. It's the company you're working at now. It's often the first question. Introduce yourself. The interview, a lot of interviews are over after 3 minutes. I'm sure
Gotcha.
You know.
Should I give an example now? Is that?
Let's start hey, hello there, Josh. Good to meet you. Boy, Leaf Labs, could you tell me what that is and what you do there?
Yeah, sure. So Leaf Labs is a small engineering consulting firm. We make custom chips, software, and firmware for different companies, including FANG companies like Google and Facebook, as well as academic labs like MIT.
Wow, I didn't think Facebook needed to hire, or Google needed to hire tech people. Give me an example of something you've sold recently.
Yeah, so typically when we work, we have a lot of NDAs, so I can't say a ton, but we do a lot of research and development kind of work. So when we work with these companies, we're working with their kind of advanced cutting edge development departments to build things that are very speculative for the future.
I still don't get it. You're like the Navy SEAL, like SEAL Team 6 for
tech
companies.
Sure.
that themselves are sophisticated.
Yeah. And like, we do a lot of work in the neuroscience
I don't see
space.
I don't see Google seeking help. Am I wrong? Apparently, right?
Yeah, sometimes they need specialized skill sets, and the skills that the Leaf Labs team has are very specialized and
what are they?
High quality. So when you're building these very small devices, you have to have a lot of really good programming in C, for example, and you also need very good knowledge of how computer architecture works on a very low level. And this is a pretty niche skill set that even Google and Facebook have trouble finding.
I'm going to
Josh,
take your word.
In your description here, we know that you brought in the Google business. So somewhere you need to drop that in, right? I mean, Sandy, how does he do that? Does he say, and one of the things I'm really proud of doing is bringing Google in as a client and getting Facebook to renew their business 3, 4, or 5 times or whatever. You need to put that right out there.
Well, you need to put that. I would put that on your resume. In terms of here's one of my rules about interviewing for business school. I've said this a lot. People don't believe it. Don't sell. Just answer the question.
Yeah, I'm trying to strike that balance of not saying too much and saying enough.
Yeah.
The interview is an elimination device. They're not looking for superstars. People don't change. The only outcome you change in your interview is down, okay?
Sure.
Everyone goes into an interview as admissible, and they're looking to weed out people who, in some cases, really have inadequate language skills, but for the most part, people that they wouldn't want to sit next to, or people that if they called, if you're sitting in a class and they say, Mr. Collins, could you tell us what happens? Everyone goes, oh boy. That's what they're trying to weed out. So don't sell, just explain. The purpose of it, what you're trying to do in an interview is survive it.
Do no harm, right?
That's right.
That is correct.
You've watched a few of these, haven't you?
I have, yes.
So hey, look, Sandy, basically what we have here is an Ivy League grad with a jumbo GMAT who has really interesting work experience. He's personable, articulate, comes off really well. The weaknesses that seem to be in this story is the 3.3 GPA and the fact that he's worked at 3 different places that no
Correct.
one knows about, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said, John. And
So you got to. That's why you want to sprinkle the glitter on the places where you work with Google and Facebook and the Andreessen Horowitz connection with your investor.
yes. Hey, Josh,
And then
put that in
and then the
there's room for
3.3.
that in the application. That's what
Yeah.
the essay is for.
Do it there, yeah.
Okay.
Do it there because in the interview it'll come off as bragging otherwise, right?
Yeah. The interview
Yeah.
is a whole different. But if they interview you, they've already swallowed all that. Okay, they've swallowed the 3.3. They've swallowed the 3 different companies. What they're looking for is what I said. Can you communicate adequately in English? Or are you going to be someone who just gunks up the works in a case method environment? Don't sell, but be able to explain.
And how does he bring up the fact that, and this should be known by anyone in admissions, in graduate school admissions, but you can't take anything for granted. Princeton Review stood alone in trying to fight grade inflation. And his 3.3 at any other university, including Yale and Harvard, probably would have been a 3.6. But how does he say that?
He says that in the 500 character box on the application, where they say, is there anything else you want to explain? And you say, my 3.3 at Princeton is not a predictor of how I will perform at your school. For one thing, Princeton is known for grade deflation. And if you could actually, I'm serious, if there is a citation you could put in there, if this was written up someplace.
Oh yeah, it was.
Well, they do send that letter with the transcript, like I mentioned.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
and they send the
that,
letter,
but
yeah. So I think most graduate schools are aware, admissions officers are aware of that. So I wouldn't explain that. I would explain that in the application. I wouldn't focus on it in the interview. If it comes up in the interview, you say, well, I put a lot of explaining in the application. The 3.3 at Princeton is widely acknowledged to be sort of like a 3.6 or a 3.7 anyplace else.
Sure,
Are they
makes sense.
still the odd duck in this?
Yeah, they in fact walked it back. The formal grade deflation, anyway.
Yes,
so I was under that program for 2 years of my undergraduate experience.
And that was the first 2 years
where my GPA was lower. Yeah, correct.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Put all that in a little box. And the trouble with this coming up in an interview is you start explaining it, you can't explain it, and it becomes a proxy for the fact you can't explain something you should be able to explain easily, like what is Leaf Labs? Okay.
Sure.
And Josh has an incredible group of extras that show him to be, I don't know, pretty multidimensional. I mean, the fact that you're
singing, rock climbing, and cologne collecting. Yeah. I wouldn't.
Well, competitive gaming, let me just tell you, Sandy, that's a big deal, man. Okay. To be top 1% in 3 different competitive games, that is huge in competitive gaming.
Yeah, it's getting really big these days. I mean, they're paying some of the professional players millions to play these games.
Absolutely. So. It's a big deal right now. Yeah.
You got a lot going for you.
Okay. Plus, he was captain of the club team in squash at Princeton.
Yeah, that's also a big deal. Yeah, you're a talented, diverse guy. Why do you need to go to business school?
So I think there's kind of 2, maybe 3 main reasons. One is I really do like business ethics. We haven't touched upon a ton, but that's really kind of what I want to do with my career is forward
okay, John,
ethical
tell
business.
Him why that's
right?
a dumb idea to say.
Well, it'd be a hard thing to get a job immediately after your MBA.
Do you have a history of that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in undergrad, I wrote my thesis on it. My startup was about financial access for all people. The dog genetic testing company is
business ethics.
Well,
it's an ethical thing to do, but it's not business ethics, if you know what I'm saying. Business ethics, the way I perceive it, would be standardized practices, things like that.
Yeah, so kind of the two fields within business ethics I'm most interested in are compensation equity and diversity in leadership,
All right,
especially at executive levels.
it's a bummer, I say. John, what do you think? I'm not 100% certain on this.
Well, look, I mean, right now, diversity and inclusion is a real hot button topic. All the schools and the companies are taking it very seriously. So I actually think there is some leverage in his interest and passion for that. And because a lot of, I mean, if there's a top of mind concern right now for many businesses, it's that.
You're a white guy from Princeton with, I take it,
There you go.
you didn't grow up on food stamps.
No,
I'd really,
I've had a very privileged life myself, for sure.
yeah, I'd stay away from it. I don't see any upside to it.
But I think they will admire the fact that you did.
Okay, Josh, here's the question. This is a real important question. Give me your career after business school. What job do you want as your first job? What do you want after that? And where do you see yourself in 25 years? This is a question everybody out there should be able to answer. It's critical.
Yeah, for sure. So 2 things right out of school. I'd either like to found again, and that means finding probably a co-founder in business school, which is a pretty common thing. And I know a few people who have done that. Or I'd like to join a benefit corporation. So that would be something like Patagonia or Warby Parker or Etsy. Patagonia has Tin Shed Ventures in particular, which is a similar kind of impact VC that I would like to found later in my career. So that's my long-term goal, is to be an impact. The other reason for business school that kind of ties in with this is I do want to found again, whether that's right out of school or not. And it's very difficult, I think, in a lot of cases for founders to see their companies through all the way through their growth cycle.
Yeah, that's acceptable, blah, blah, blah. If you know what that means. That means nobody believes it, but the schools have to believe it since they say it themselves. Tell me someone whose job you would want. This is a frequent question and an important one. Tell me someone whose job you'd want in 20 years.
Yeah, so someone I really admire is a guy named Dan Price. He's the founder of Gravity Payments, which is a small payments company. He's most well known for his own stances on ethical business. So he, for example, cut his own salary to $70,000 so that he could pay everyone in his company at least $70,000.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, so I like him a lot. Also, my angel investor, Shanna Fisher, is amazing. And I'd love to be like her.
Perfect answer. That's a great answer. Sometimes they would say, tell me someone we both know that you admire.
Yeah, so someone we both know would be Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard. I think
Sure.
He has a lot of really good ethical stances about investing.
We all love Jack. Right. Great. Those are great answers.
So what are his odds? What are his odds at Harvard, at Stanford, at MIT, at Wharton, at Yale?
750 covers a lot of, if you can explain the 3-3, if Princeton can explain the 3-3, you've got the 750. You've got what you've really got to do you're a case where the essay makes a difference. Okay.
Sure.
That's not always the case. Very often a Harvard essay could just go through the motions. It doesn't have to add anything or explain anything. They get it. You're not someone that they get from just the resume and the standard evidence. In your case, you've got to explain what you're up to. If you can do that with the 750, and who's going to write your recommendations?
So my previous supervisor, the VP of marketing at Embark, volunteered to write for me before I even knew I was going to be applying to business school. He went to BC Business School himself. So I think he's written some of these before, and I'm still in touch with him. I still do consulting work for him on the side. So
okay,
he'll write one.
Good. That'll be a good recommendation, but it's not going to break any doors down. Do you have anyone who could really, like a Bigfoot?
So my angel investor is the other person I've considered. She's well known in the VC industry. Keeps a low profile generally, but definitely has some sway.
Okay, those two people would solidify your case. I think your chances of being interviewed at Harvard are like
60%.
no, it's never that high. 30, 40. They interview 10% of the application pool.
Yeah, it's all uphill battle with these schools. I'm very aware they're all very competitive.
Yeah, but you're a very competitive candidate.
You've got a lot going for you, and
Thank you.
you're not a standard banking consulting type. So you're an interesting white guy, which is kind of what.
Yeah, I'd like to think my experience could bring some interesting perspective to the class for sure.
Good. Yeah. So I think your chances of getting interviewed at Harvard, particularly if Princeton can explain the 3-3 and if that's well known, I think your chances of getting interviewed at Harvard are like 40%. That would require perfect execution. I think Wharton would go for the story and the 750.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Stanford type.
Yeah, he is actually.
Although you have to present yourself as the Stanford essay. Once again, will be important for you. This what
Sure.
matters most and why. You've got to figure out how to explain this mission and benefit focus to them.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think your chant and the 750 is something they like a lot. Stanford loves GMAT. Everybody loves GMATs, but Stanford really loves them.
Trying to make their numbers higher than Harvard's, right? Or higher than the other schools.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's a fact of life. So I think your chances at Stanford of getting an interview are, like 30, 40%. Man, that's pretty high.
Very
It's
high.
about as good as I've heard you give anyone. So
Well,
that's
is
flattering.
I don't go much higher than that.
Yeah.
I would go higher than that if you were underrepresented group of some kind. But for a white guy,
I'm very much not. I'm about as overrepresented as you get.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of smart white guys out there, and so and that bucket counts. Okay. Wharton would go for this. Wharton loves everything about this.
I'm from
Yale and
Philadelphia
MIT
initially,
too.
and my dad actually went to Wharton himself. So
there you go. Good. So those are pluses. So I think your chances of Wharton are real good. What else do you want to know, John?
Yale
MIT
and
and
MIT,
Yale.
I assume the same.
Yeah. MIT, it's the same thing I say to everybody about MIT. You've got to convince them that they're number one. They don't want to be your safe school for HBS. So yeah. I don't know if you can visit these days, but I would reach out as much as possible. I would make as much contact with them. I'd try and find someone there you could talk to on the phone or over Skype and really convince them that you want to go there.
Sure.
So all that said, Sandy, do you have a sense for where Josh belongs as opposed to what he can get in or what his odds are? Where does this guy really belong?
Well, I'm a little biased. Everybody belongs at Harvard simply because it's so, no, simply not because it's down the street from both of us. I noticed you live in Cambridge.
Indeed.
It's just bigger. Okay. It's huge. That same is true for Wharton, but Harvard is just huge. It has connections with the Boston community, and it has connections with its alumni base, and it's just a worldwide brand. That's all. So I'm in favor of going to Harvard for those reasons. I don't buy this jive about, oh well, what about Professor X or something. Nobody cares about that. You're going to get a solid education at all. The education is not going to be different. It's the same.
Yeah. I really like Boston too, so I'd love to stay here, either at Harvard or MIT.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and Harvard. So that's where you should go. Harvard. Of course.
There you go.
Stanford has one advantage in that it would, if you're a VC, if you're interested in starting a company, there's a lot of action out there.
Yeah,
to that
Stanford seems
MMR.
amazing as well, obviously, and it would dial me into the Silicon Valley ecosystem a little bit more. So
Yeah,
for sure,
dial you in. I like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Punch you into the Silicon Valley ecosystem. So you got a lot going for you, buddy.
All right.
Thank you.
There you go. Hey, good
Thank you
luck,
very much.
Josh. We
Yeah, I
know you're
appreciate
going to
it.
get in, and you're going to. I mean, I think you're going to end up getting into 3 of these 5. My guess is because you're a dynamite candidate. Good luck to you, and for all of you out there, thanks for watching Fridays with Sandy. This is John Byrne of Poets and Quants.